Yo, what's going on, guys? Welcome to episode number 10, double digits of Marvel Yap. It is great to be here. Today, we're going to be talking about the new dev roadmap that just came out yesterday, as well as the OTA Aftermath, talking about Scorn and our top discarders. But let's go ahead and jump right into it. And as always, we are joined with the hostest with the mostest, notmydance. How are you doing, King? It is good to see you, brother.
It's good to see you as well. It's good to see the cats. I see a little paw trying to break into the yap already. We're just starting, but the cats are very excited to be here. I'm excited as well, though. This is, oh my gosh, the amount of stuff that's dropped yesterday is insane. We've got, like, I know we could talk about other stuff here, but there's so much Snap stuff to discuss today. And a lot of it's exciting. Some of it's but they just dropped the dev roadmap, and this is spicy.
Yeah, there's literally so much going on. Just going over what we are talking about today. We are going to, like Dan said, we're going to be talking about the dev roadmap. We're going to be talking about the OTA that just happened, featuring our boy Zabu, who we have on screen. We're going to be talking about Scorn. We're going to be talking about Agony. We're going to be talking about some of the top discard cards before Scorn and after Scorn. The BS and the AS is what we're going to be talking about today. But how was your week this past week, Dance? How did you feel about leagues? How did you feel about maybe even weekend missions being interesting? The meta, I feel like, is in a very interesting spot right now.
I think that I think the leagues in general were fine. I was trying to avoid them, and then I very quickly accidentally played a ladder match, and I decided just to say screw it and fell straight into an Erisham pit. I think Erisham, minor spoiler, Erisham didn't get touched in the OTA, and it should have. It's very brainless, I feel like. Was about like 10,000 terms of rank and took it all the way up to 2,000.
Wow.
And it's just with Erisham. It's just it's dumb, I think. It should not be as good as it is. I think I even sent you a screenshot of a game that I had earlier where it was just like, turn one, I draw Storm, Legion, War Machine as Erisham, and it's even worse then. And it's just, I don't know. It was something else. I got I did do leagues. I did get first actually. And it's been, I don't know, really just kind of burnt me on that a little bit. It's such a grind. But what did you feel about this weekend? Did you do any fun stuff with the missions? I will say, if you're gonna talk about the what we did during this weekend in terms of gameplay, you were in the creator tournament, and I think you did pretty dang well. No spoiling.
Yeah. I was in the Creators Gauntlet this weekend, and I did make the top 12 NA, which means I made the top 32 worldwide.
Whoop, whoop.
So I'm going to be participating this next weekend in the top 32 of the Creators Gauntlet against 31 of the other just incredible creators to see who moves on to the top 8, which will be on Sunday. Top 32 will be on Saturday. And there was actually some people upset during the Creators Gauntlet because people were playing Erisham. Like you said, like Erisham just is a feels bad moment, I feel like. In ladder, I think it's a little bit more beatable than I would say in Conquest. I'd say that's where it has its most value is Conquest. It may not be, what people consider A, S, or 0 tier in ladder, but in Conquest, it's a whole different beast because of the known and unknown factors of it. But we'll dive into that more when we go to OTA stuff. But other than that, I placed in 6th in my league. I got kicked out of the 5th spot, 10 seconds left before reset happened. I didn't play a lot of leagues, I would say, because, I played in the tournament. I just wanted to chill after playing in the tournament. It was 6 rounds against some of the best creators and competitors in Snap. It was like I literally had to super zone in and like just focus. So I just wanted to breather, watch some football, and just, hang out with my wife.
Yeah, which y'all did. I will say y'all did have a major announcement, which I don't think has been talked about on your YouTube. And I very recently learned about this because I wasn't looking at your Twitter or your Discord. But you're having your first kid, and that's freaking exciting as hell. That's awesome, bro.
Yeah, we are having our first kid in spring of 2025. It's something we've been kind of keeping behind the scenes for a minute, but we're like, you know what, it's time. So we're making an announcement. You know, of course, making it before Christmas and everything too. So it helps if people are like, oh, what would you like for? Well, we got a baby coming.
Man's just admitted the timing of the timing of the announcements for all for the presents. I can't believe it.
No, I mean, babies.
Nope, that's it. It's so awesome. It's seriously so cool, bro. That's actually exciting, and that's a whole other step and journey that you and Am are going to be able to take. And I'm absolutely excited for y'all, and I cannot wait for that.
Really
but on a more Snap related note, this roadmap it's not as exciting as a kid, but it's still pretty exciting.
Yeah, no. I think what I like about the roadmap here is that it's a lot of coming soon and like future stuff, but it doesn't feel like the future's too far in the future. Like some of these other roadmaps have like 5 different sections with 5 different topics in each, and it's like only 3 of these are going to be actually coming into the game. All these other ones are kind of just fluff. This doesn't feel like fluff. It feels like they actually have a general idea for all of it, a generalized timeline and stuff. As I pull it up on screen from the very top of the news section of the Marvel Snap website, here's what
I will say.
Have.
They talked about it actually before we break it down everything. They did say that they are very specifically, they mentioned this in Team Answers, they are not talking about things that aren't ready to be talked about like they've done in the past with those like the very future things like concept or whatever. Like they've said that they aren't going to talk about those because of the negative reaction if stuff like that gets undone or it stops working. So they've just stopped doing that. And honestly, I really appreciate that. I love the fact that Second Dinner is willing to share stuff in general with us here. And I feel like a lot of companies don't. And so the fact they're like, okay, this is why companies don't share so much stuff, but we're going to just tempo a little bit, try to pull back on some of the stuff that we're going to be talking about here, just to make sure that we're giving y'all the most amount of info that's actually going to be super relevant. But yeah, there's a bunch of different sections in this dev roadmap that we're going to have to break down and go through here.
Yeah, and we'll start from the beginning. We have High Voltage coming out this week. It'll be coming out tomorrow at the time this video is posted, Wednesday, October 16th. We also have the Collector's Vault. I believe it's coming either this week or next week. This is where it gets a little interesting. They talk about the Collector's Vault coming out on the 18th in the video that guest posted, but on the website it says the 24th, so I'm not sure on that date just yet.
Yeah.
Then we have the Second Dinner second year anniversary celebration, which is with Twitch drops, daily login rewards, as well as a Deadpool bundle. And then, of course, we have Deadpool's Diner 2.0, which is coming out in November. They have said for the coming soon.
Yeah, the Deadpool's Diner is also going to be really fun. I'm stoked about that. You know, it's just they're going for the Thanksgiving theme. It seems like a little bit more here on that one, but we'll break this stuff down. But that's already just the coming soon stuff, because then in development, we had it kind of teased, right? Where they talked about how there was an issue with splits and like the split rates got lowered slightly, and they did that because of a future update for character masteries. And it was an accident. They've talked about that. They're going to like buff the rates. We'll talk about that more whenever they've said this stuff. But that means character mastery is now something that they are actually discussing again, and it's in development, and we have a lot of stuff on that. We'll be talking about that. The super premium season pass. We'll talk about that one. Album previews and the wish list. A wish list is really spicy. I'm interested more in that stuff, but this album previews in general are going to be really cool. I love that. And then new limited time modes. And there's a lot of really cool stuff just around all these different limited time modes that they're trying to work on. So yeah, we'll go through all this stuff, but let's go with the coming soons.
Maybe this wish list, you'll actually be able to get that Flaviano Hellcow, right?
I still don't have the Flaviano Hellcow. I still don't have Venomized Quicksilver now as well. I'm struggling. I need them, please. I'm fine. I'm not addicted to buying albums.
No, not addicted at all. But starting from the top, like Dan is saying, we have High Voltage that is coming out tomorrow, Wednesday, which is very fast. Is the way they describe it. And they're looking to have like new goals with Marvel Snap to ensure that we're staying excited every time we log into the game, which is like the gist of this top over here. But here is what High Voltage is. In this mode, there is no snapping. There's only 3 turns for the entire game. More energy for combos, never possible in Marvel Snap. Each turn you start with 2 cards, meaning not each mode. Each game, you start with 2 cards, and then you draw 2 cards each turn instead of just 1 card. Instead of starting a game with 4 cards, it's a little interesting in that sense, but you're going to be able to capitalize on it more. You're going to end up drawing more cards in the game than you normally do. And then the energy varies from turn to turn. So it is randomized for both players, and it's the exact same for both players. So if you have 2 energy, your opponent has 2 energy. And you get any boost from either 2 to 5. So starting on turn 1, you have, of course, your normal 1 energy, but then you get the additional boost of 2 to 5, I believe, is the way it works, right?
Yeah, I think so, yes.
And then...
You
go.
Good, sorry.
And then, of course, if you do complete a bunch of weekly missions for it, I mean, not weekly, because I think it's only a couple days long, you get your voltage points. Voltage points are what you use to be able to progress on the tracker for voltage, to be able to get credits, a variant. They don't have collector's tokens anymore on there like there was originally. An avatar, the Series 4 card Agony, which you can get her for free if you hit that threshold in there, or the Iron Man variant at the very end of it. And then, of course, you do get 20 voltage points per win, it looks like. So it's going to be grindy. You can pay for more missions with gold, it looked like, with the trailer. So it's going to be interesting to see how that works. How many people are just going to pay gold just to get Agony as quick as possible, which probably is what people are going to do. I mean, it's totally fair.
We'll see. I like the fact that you can't, like, previously you could just straight up buy Cassandra Nova if you spent enough money, right? You didn't even have to technically play the game mode. This one, you still have to play it, but you can it just basically will refill your missions. It just does that stuff. So I do like that bit of it. Yeah, you mentioned that the collector's tokens previously were the second reward on it. They've removed those in favor of more credits. I mean, it is what it is. We can't really say anything else there. And then also, there's a bunch of locations that are banned, and a bunch of and they've banned a few cards as well. I'm gonna just word vomit every single location real quick because we have a confirmed list of every single location. All right. So if y'all need to hear it again, just rewind after I'm done here. All banned locations in high voltage game mode: Attilan, Avengers Compound, Death's Domain, District X, Dream Dimension, Grand Central, Hala, Kiln, Limbo, Los Diablo Space, Mindscape, Miniaturized Lab, Mirror Dimension, Ruins, New York, Sanctum Sanctorum, Stark Tower, Starlight Citadel, Strange Academy, The Big House, TVA, Vault, Westview, Asgard, The Bifrost, Oscorp Tower, Clintar, Eternity Range, Collapsed Mine, Pet Mansion, Valley of the Hand, Mount Vesuvius, Thunderbolt's Tower, Eternals Arc, and World Forge. Okay. Whew.
Woo! Speedy quick, just like high voltage.
Exactly. Although I will say, they've talked about some of those locations being not allowed. District X, Ruins, and Valley of the Hand were all listed. Those aren't even in the normal rotations. That was a weird that they mentioned those, but still. Also, you can't use Magic, Galactus, or Black Widow.
So yeah, they want to make sure you don't have 2, or that's only like 1 Fun Police card. I guess Galactus technically is, but like you can still Master Mold people, you can still Spider-Man people. So there's still gonna be iterations where you're able to do that. Mill might actually be okay. I feel like there's a couple different decks that you can actually play, and you build decks specifically for this game mode. That probably won't work as well on ladder, but they probably work well on this because it's only 3 rounds. So it's going to be interesting to see what people put together. What are you thinking card-wise you might want to build for this game mode?
I mean, biggest thing I'm thinking of is Wiccan. I really want to use Wiccan in this list because you're getting at least 2 to 5 extra energy each turn is what they've said. So assuming you just don't get 2 extra energy, if you have him on turn 1, you can just spend all your energy turn 1 and have 2 more energy than your opponent in only 3 turns. You can get a lot of use cases out of that. That and actually Adam Warlock, the dead card pretty much, are the 2 cards that I'm really looking at in terms of like, I would love to use these cards. These are the ones that I think are going to pop off.
Yeah, I think those are great ideas. I think you could try Erishim in this, but since you have so many cards in your deck, yes, you are starting with more energy, but you're only drawing, 2 cards in the beginning, another 2 on that same turn. At most, you're drawing, You're drawing 8 of your cards from your deck, so, like, maybe you have some crazy good luck with Erishim, so you have the extra energy to your advantage, but I feel like Erishim might be in, like, a situation where you don't want to play it just because of the odds not being in your favor kind of thing. But I think the Nico Draw 2 spell is going to be incredible this game mode. I think Destroy is
True.
going to be in a good spot. I feel like they feature Hela pretty much in the video for it. Hela could be interesting to get the discards out and everything too. I think classic discard I think is going to be fun, not just because Scorn's coming out this week, but because like you can really set up combos and stuff potentially too. But I feel like overall when it comes to high voltage, you're probably not going to be playing a combo heavy list. You're going to be playing something a little bit more linear, so you can kind of more often than not know what you're going to be drawing and kind of like guarantee being able to just like play the game in that sense, opposed to, okay, well, if I had this, there's a chance I can draw this kind of card. But at the same time, who knows? Maybe there's going to be instances where playing a combo heavy deck allows you to be able to maybe force your way to get through games, because people are like, well, I can't even beat this now. They had the God combo. I just retreat even though it's only turn 2. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see.
So out of a typical 12 card deck, you're going to get only 8 of your cards, and that's one less than a normal game of Marvel Snap with 6. I guess it makes sense why Black Widow doesn't work, because they want you to draw 2 cards each turn, and so the Widow's Bite would suck. But Agatha would reduce the amount of cards that you would have less as a draw as well, and she would only take control of 1 turn. And you could even potentially play her turn 1.
Does Agatha count as one of the 2 cards drawn?
No, she's in your opening hand, same way that like she doesn't. If I think Quicksilver and Thanos are like can start as one of your first cards drawn, but she just starts in your hand and then you have all the cards, right? In terms of a normal game.
So Agatha would be a good shout, especially with her new doesn't work on even
exactly
turns or on turns. Yeah.
That's only it's turn 2, and you can maybe a good chance you could potentially just play her out on turn 1. You'll be fine.
I like that. And then they're forced to either Shang-Chi or get that lane away.
Yeah, like real quick. That could be a really solid shout there too. But I like that. Yeah, I think high voltage is going to be a lot of fun. They talk about a lot of different game modes that they want to be trying to do here. I like it. I think that I like that you can do the missions. I think the missions being a way that you can slowly push through this game mode is nice. I think it's going to work probably better than Diner did, because it just gives you more, like a lot slower feed, if that makes sense, in terms of the game modes, in terms of how much you want to be playing this game in comparison. And so that should honestly probably help out with. I feel like some people got burned out from Deadpool's Diner and just trying to like grind really hard at that, and then they lose everything in there, and they're like, well, okay, well that sucks. Like they're just really in a bad spot. This isn't it. You don't feel like you're in a bad spot here if you run out of your missions. If anything, you feel the accomplishment that you got your missions done, and then you just wait.
And I hope you can do regular daily missions in here too. And I think you made a great comparison. I'm glad that it doesn't just feel like a carbon copy of Deadpool's Diner. It feels like something different. And I think that's what's great, is like it's going to be a new feel. It's going to be like, okay, they have high voltage now. They can bring high voltage back in a couple months. They have Deadpool's Diner this month. And it's something they can rotate in and out of just like the life cycle of the game to keep things fresh. So it's not like, oh, it's just Deadpool's Diner again. It's like Deadpool's Diner this month, high voltage this month, draft mode this month, or something like something that they can kind of rotate to, so we have something fresh to look forward to every month. And then they're like, okay, well, we're gonna switch it up this time. Like I'm glad that they are looking and they're literally answering questions that we have, and they're listening to us, which is something they talked about in the video, which we'll have down in the description below, where Guest goes over all of the roadmap stuff as well. And then since we've talked about high voltage, we're gonna move on to the next thing, which is going to be the Collector's Vault, which is very interesting. You see something like this, not like this, but like Fortnite's going to be doing something like this in the future too, with season passes, like their season pass skins and stuff, but it's 18 months after. This is a year after a bundle has been released. You have the chance to get that bundle like card, the variant, if you own the base card, in your vault, which your vault is going to be a range from what looks like a super rare, a little bit more than super rare cost of gold, to a little bit more than a spotlight's cost of gold to get variants from older bundles. You get up to 6, and it is randomized. I don't know if it's every month, but whenever the vault returns, and there are different rarities of the variants too. I don't remember what the exact names were for the exclusivities. Do you know?
I do not. I'll pull it up here in a second. Okay. But I do like the fact that, I mean, in general, I like the fact that you can actually get this stuff back. it's going to be a FOMO. It's a way they can make more money. I get that, and I'm honestly kind of just okay with that. It doesn't feel like anything. It doesn't feel bad. It's just like, okay, yeah, they're going to make some more money off this, sure. And it is, we talked about this before, it's only bundle exclusives.
Yes.
So season pass cards and what is it? And cards that are like drops. I think there are some drops cards that are you're never going to be able to get again then based off this information. So I don't mind this in general. I'm okay with it. It's actually cheaper than I thought it was going to be. And like I said, it's a way that they can make money.
Yeah.
Doesn't hurt anyone. It's just money stuff. But it is, we talked about it. It is, I believe, amazing, sensational, and then exquisite are the three different rarities here. So amazing is blue, sensational is the purple, and exquisite is the gold. And that's 1,400, 2,000, and 2,500.
And the other thing is, too, Guest does mention in the video, if you do not get an exquisite variant this time around in the shop, the next time in the shop, you are guaranteed to get an exquisite variant as one of the items.
Yeah. Which, I don't know, it's kind of, that point is weird to me, I will say. Like, if you didn't get something that cost a lot of money at first, don't worry, you'll get something that costs a lot of money in the future. Like, I don't know why that was like pointed out. It's just like, hey, don't worry. If you don't feel like you're spending enough money here, you'll get the opportunity for it. I don't, like, again, I like it. That was just such a weird point to talk about or whatever. And it threw me off so heavily. Not to mention the fact, by the way, especially as I just looked at the video to check these stats or whatever, the fact they start with the Discord call sound is atrocious and I hate it.
Yeah, everyone was saying, like, not me checking my Discord to see if I'm actually getting a call right now.
Yeah, it was incredibly rude of them. There's no reason for them to do that. But I don't know. In general, I'm fine with this. I don't ever think that I think very rarely I'm actually buying the bundles for the variant and in that like world where I'm like, yes, exclusive, this card is mine and no one shall ever have it again. I'm fine that more people are going to get this Peach Mocha Mystique. It's actually the first ever bundle I remember buying because I was like, I loved the card. I liked the way it looked. And it was really cool to me. So I think that was one of the first few times where I did that. And I'm fine with other people getting that as well. I think there's going to be a lot of those that are really cool. And I'm actually stoked to get a lot of remember, the Alex Horley Zabu season. There were so many really cool bundle variants in that season. And I didn't get them. And I've forever, that's nagged the back of my brain. But I think there's a Craven that I know I'm going to be so stoked to get. The Devil Dino. I cannot wait to get those. Those have been some of my favorites.
Dino. If the Savage Lands Dino is in the vault, I might have to snag that. I also didn't get the Jacinto Apocalypse, which I love that one.
Yeah, that one's pretty solid too. Oh, I might. I like the Nightforged one though. I don't know. I'll have to see. It's been a while since I've seen those again. But yeah, I mean, this is, again, it's a feature that I think it feels like another whale hunting feature in all honesty. Doesn't have to be a crazy good feature, but it is a feature that I think some people are going to be interested in. Like, okay, well, there's this cool variant and I'm never gonna be able to get this again. Like, here's the thing. There's a Galactus bundle coming out later this month that's been data mined. I'm willing to bet that's gonna be a 2,500 gold thing. And if you save your gold in Marvel Snap up until like next year or whatever, you're gonna be able to get that Galactus variant for the gold and you can honestly laugh at people who spend money for it, calling them suckers.
Yep.
So it's kind of sick. I'm not gonna lie. There's a lot of really cool stuff there.
Excited to see what happens here, and of course it lasts for 5 days, so you have 5 days to mill over your gold, potentially earn more gold to see if you do want to spend it with a vault. I think it's a great idea. I think yes, the variants are going to be a bit expensive, but like it's a better opportunity than having to spend money. You can earn these resources like organically just in the game, and it's just all about resource management there. And then of course they did announce the anniversary celebration, which is going to be the login rewards. Which on screen, day 1, 65 boosters, day 2, 250 credits, day 3, Live, Love, Snap. It's a funny title. Day 4, you get 2 white neon borders, which I'm super excited for that. Day 5, you get a premium mystery variant. Day 6, you get 155 boosters for a random card. And day 7, you get a orange cosmic border, which is kind of a little bit peculiar. I don't know exactly what cards you use on, maybe Human Torch, Ghost Rider, or something, maybe even Angela, but
you want to hear my theory about this? Huh. Because the bundle, and it's weird that they're talking about a bundle as like a dev roadmap thing, right? But that bundle's the Toon Deadpool one. And if you remember the promo video where that Toon Deadpool was in, Toon Deadpool was trying to get a cube away from the Western Ghost Rider.
Yep.
I wonder if there's a world where instead of a premium mystery variant, or maybe even the border, we were supposed to get a Western Ghost Rider variant.
Ooh.
Which, because it feels weird that we're just getting a premium mystery variant here rather than like some exclusive variant here, because none of the anniversary stuff is exclusive. The 2099 variant that we got like last week or something like that with drops, those were exclusive.
Yep.
None of this is, and so that kind of feels like a weird choice to me. Again, like I don't know what they're doing with that. Maybe they've got a logic behind this, but it definitely felt strange here for that choice. But that's when I saw the orange cosmic border, I was thinking of that Ghost Rider and like, man, that'd be so cool there. I wonder if those were supposed to be a thing together and then it didn't, and then they're like, whatever, just they're a premium mystery, just shove it around, whatever.
That's a good shout. I hadn't thought about it that way, but I'm glad you had you're on that wavelength. I like it.
There you go.
And then yeah, it's a good bundle too. The Deadpool bundle is just like last year's Deadpool bundle is like pretty good value. I think it's $10. I don't know if we have it on this over here, but if you look on Snap.fam, you can see that bundle. And then of course they did say Deadpool's Diner is going to return in November, and it's gonna have a Thanksgiving theme. And they say in the video that they've been listening to our feedback about the diner and they have made changes to it. We don't exactly know the entirety of those changes just yet, but it's going to be Thanksgiving themed, and it's probably going to be for another new card. What card is it going to be in November? I don't know. Maybe we'll find out in the data mine tomorrow. Maybe it's Luthé, or Luthé might not be until March with the...
oh my gosh, you call him Luthé. Sorry. I was thrown off.
I don't know. It'll be interesting to see.
I think there's a turkey theme there too, for what it's worth, because you got turducken and you got Maximum Efforts with the cornucopia. I feel like they're going to go with a Thanksgiving turkey theme there, but it'll be a fun one. I think that's 2 months in a row with an exclusive game mode, and I wonder if they're going to start making it a monthly thing then because of this. Yeah, like I'm down in general, but I'm interested in that. But if for another thing we're down with. I'm so down with the next thing we're talking about, though. Character masteries.
Oh, yes. You want to go ahead and talk about that?
Yeah, if I can. Because character masteries, we were told it wasn't even happening. Because some technical issue stopped them and they weren't able to do it. But we have confirmation officially that they are coming back. Or at least coming in general. Like they will be a thing. And I'll read the description here. So, do you love Iron Man? You have a soft spot for She-Hulk. The character mastery system rewards you for growing your unique collection and favorite characters. Anything you've previously done counts. So splits retroactively, variants you've already bought retroactively, any of that stuff works. If you have a favorite card you've invested into, you've already progressed that character's mastery track and have rewards waiting. Maybe you're the Electro Extraordinaire. All of your Electro variants and splits count for XP rewards and variants progressing towards his mastery track. As you unlock character mastery levels, you will earn brand new finishes, flares, and reaction sets for that character. We prioritize character mastery based on your feedback, and we love the idea of being able to customize your collection even further. We hope to expand the character mastery system in the future. Please let us know what you'd like to see. And they have it shown, what is it? They're not showing it at least on the website here, but they actually show some of the reactions and such. So you will be, they even show your some meek reactions on there. So it's going to be some meek splits that are going to be occurring with all of that, but it's going to be very interesting. I'm excited for that. The biggest thing that I think that we can note with this is that character masteries are not going to count for like you're getting a bunch, like if you bounce a bunch of your cards back to your hand with Beast.
Yeah.
That isn't something here, and that was something I think that they teased initially when they first talked about character masteries. And I'm going to guess that was the technical hurdle, where they couldn't do it based off of how much you've done this action with the card, and they didn't have a good way to do that, and that's going to be a fortunate situation where you have to be like, yeah, that doesn't exist, and it's unfortunately just a thing where you have to maybe be splitting more of the cards, and I think that's not going to be as exciting for a lot of people, or maybe buying more variants. Still, though, I think it's a very exciting bit, and one of the things that's talked about, at least in the Discord announcement, it's just not mentioned on the website, but that is they are releasing 25, at least 25, brand new flares, which are the effects whenever the card loads, and finishes the effects on the card and its back, with character mastery being added. So all of that stuff's going to be occurring whenever that does happen. Some other things that you see, again, I'm going to talk about just in the Discord, is you see that there are individual collector tracks. It looks like very similar to the actual collector's level, where you can gain XP. We don't really know how you gain the XP for each card or what have you, but you gain different finishes, you gain different like flares. The biggest thing I notice, and I don't know if you've noticed this yet, but when you look at the individual character masteries, they have these things called mastery caches.
Yeah, I saw that.
What is that? What do you think that
it's
is?
Like one of the there's set flares you can get for hitting certain levels, and then you probably have the mystery caches for like randomized flares that have different rarities and stuff to them that you can get for your card, whether it be like a rarer card back or a rarer card effect or a rare background maybe, or you get like a special title for a card or maybe a special avatar or something.
Interesting. Yeah. Okay, I like that. Yeah. No, I think that's something that I also noticed. And again, it's not talked about here on the website, but I wanted to bring that stuff up because I think those in particular are the things I'm most concerned with about this feature. Like, I am stoked that the character mastery is coming. It's not the way we were initially told about it. And because of that, I'm wondering if it's going to be worse. This is I know I'm typically trying to be more excited about stuff, but it feels like it is character mastery the way we were initially told character mastery is going to be this one thing, and it couldn't work as this one thing that we were told about. And so they had to change it, and it has the same name. It's as if, I don't know, someone gave you a what is it? You're all the way back in the 1980s, and you got your Big Mac, and it's delicious, and you love it, and you look at it, and then you go to 2024, and you look at these paper thin double patties, and the burger that looks smaller than your hand, and you're like, this is a Big Mac? A Big Mac's supposed to be a Big Mac.
Yeah.
So I'm excited about this, but I'm incredibly. I do not consider this to be character masteries, if that makes sense. This is something different under the same name.
I am super pumped for character mastery. I know, like you said, it is different than what was originally thought about, but I like that you're actually getting rewarded for splitting cards again. Like, I feel like a lot of the time I split a card, I'm done with the card. I've split it already 20 times or maybe less, depending on how lucky I've got, or more. And I'm like, okay, I'm done. We're through this card. But now it's like, okay, well, if you split this card another time, you can actually get this extra effect and see how it looks with, any Kirby or anything you have with the card. Maybe I get a special avatar. Maybe I do get a special title. Maybe I just have something that I can use to flex. Like, I get the emotes and everything too, or I get the reactions, not emotes. But I'm excited to see how it works. I definitely agree. Like, not having the challenges definitely is a little less fun, but I still think this can be really fun because I was like, yeah, get like 1,000 power Deadpool. That'd be really cool. Like, I'm like going for this. I'm trying to get Shuri's Lab every game to try and be able to get this opportunity. But I am very excited just to see how this can add just more fun and just longevity to the game as well, because I feel like adding more different ways to customize and all this feels really good as a player, especially someone like us who really goes for all sorts of different customizations and everything too. I think it's going to be fun, and it's rumored to be December. I believe they were talking about that when they were talking about the percentages. Of course, things can change. If they're trying to make it better, I'm cool if it takes longer. But it'll be at least, at the latest, they say early next year.
Definitely. And I think, what is it? The one thing I can also see whenever you look at this stuff is apparently, I think you get the reaction sets, I think around level 30, I think is what it's showing, at least in what they said on Discord. And I think that's when you'll be getting those. In addition to the fact that also, I think one of the biggest things about this is that if you get a bad split, it counts for something now.
Yes.
That's the biggest thing I'm actually stoked about. So, like, I've split a card so many times and I've never gotten a good split. I'm gonna be farther up on that track, and it's gonna all of a sudden I'm feel like, oh wait, even though I didn't get what I didn't hit it, but at the same time I'm kind of still down. Like our buddy Roby, bro, his Howard, he's gonna be level 30 on Howard day 1.
Yep.
And I love that. It's actually super cool. I think there's a lot of really fun stuff like that. I think is gonna be exciting about this. So it is also just adding more cosmetics and adding more things that we can receive, and that's cool. I like it.
I'm here for it. Character Mastery is going to be fun. Excited to see when they explain it more when we get closer to time. And then the next thing we have is going to be a super premium season pass. So right now, like, your premium season pass lets you get like 10 extra levels, I think, when you start. And you pay the extra $5 for that. Now you actually get more rewards and surprises. It's what it's saying about the super premium. We don't know any legit details on it yet. Just there's a couple different options. I don't know if it's still going to be $15 or if they're going to raise the price of that as well. So we'll see what happens there.
Yeah. I don't know. When you add multiple tiers of the passes, I mean, other games in the past, I feel like you just kind of make the middle one really just not good anymore, and it just kind of just fades away to the side. So I'm not super stoked about that. But I will say also the biggest thing I want to point out in this whole thing, whether it just, again, a lot of this stuff feels like, hey, these are going to be more things that are going to be like encouraging you to spend money or whatever, like all that stuff. And I think it's a fair thing to talk about. The biggest thing that's got me interested is it says, few surprises that will make the biggest deck builders smile. Are we getting more deck slots here? Can I finally have more than 20 decks in my game, please? There's no reason for them to lock these behind me. Let me play so many decks. I want to have 50. Let me pay money for it. I've said that in the past, and if Ben Brode's finally listening, damn it.
I'd be here for 50 deck slots.
I want it. And if I'm hoping that's it. Or it's things like, what was it? We've been playing Pocket lately. When you unlock a card, it gives you pre-built decks. Well, are these like maybe some pre-built decks that use a bunch of the top series cards that maybe some people who don't have all the series 5 cards, series 4 cards, they can just drop the whole deck down. They can rent it for like 10 games and like that, play it and have fun.
Please let me, oh my gosh, I've been talking about this for like ages. Give people loan cards so they can try out. Maybe it changes every week. I know we have spotlights that are different every week. Maybe like League of Legends does this. You can try out these champions this week. It changes next week. You can try out these 3 different Series 4 or Series 5 cards this week for free. Just try them out, and then next week it changes and it changes. That would be really cool.
Yeah, I don't know if they would be doing it for free. It sounds like it's like locked behind the super premium pass, which maybe it's not great if you have all the cards.
Right.
But still, if I don't know what that means exactly. We're gonna hold on to that, but still, this is the one where I feel like, if you remember in the last like roadmap, I think they talked about like new keyword and they just did nothing.
Yeah.
And I think that was the most exciting piece from that announcement. And I think this is one of the situations where it's like there's very little talked about here, and I think there's the most amount teased here.
Yeah, and the keyword was activate.
Yeah. No, that's what I mean. But it's
but
but that was what all the excitement and all the hype and all the intrigue was then. But yeah. And then lastly, this is just a quality of life thing. The fact this wasn't a thing day one. You tap the freaking little book and it tells you what you're getting in the album. If it lets you, if this button lets me buy cards immediately from the album, I'm gonna be happy. I'm gonna feel happiness. I'm gonna have the serotonin directly injected into my veins. It's gonna be good.
You could buy all
anyway, I'm sorry.
One day, all brand new album cards. You could buy it on the first day instead of having to wait for the next day for the shop rollover.
Ooh, don't do this to me. Oh, you got me too excited. Oh, please.
So that's going to be awesome. Also, it's a different album on the picture than what the Iron Man album is in, which is interesting because that's not a Nicola variant for the games all here, but that's okay. We're not gonna
they're letting the image do the talking here. It does say development, not final. Like, all these images are development. They're not final. Yeah. But that's a really good point. That's definitely a mistake.
But they're also going to be adding new game modes, which we're talking about now, some in the in-concept things, trying to add brand new limited time modes next year, something more like High Voltage Diner, I think is with limited time, or maybe that is one of these in-concept draft mode is something that they're thinking about adding. We saw this in the last roadmap. They're trying to make it clear and exciting with some deck building goals, fun gameplay that feels unique from constructive, and something that's highly playable. So I'm interested to see how they do this. I feel like draft mode was only, facing people, of course, who have also drafted decks, which is really cool. Something they do in like FIFA, I know I'm comparing other games, is like you draft a team of, I think it's like 20 players, and you're facing other people that have drafted a team of 20 players, could have some of the same players, could have different players, and you play up to 4 games with the team. You know, it's single elimination against another person, so you win the first game, you progress, and as soon as you progress more, you win your 4th game, you get bigger rewards. So it'll be really cool if you can do that, and if you lose the first game, normally you get a refund token to allow you to do a draft again. So I wonder if they'll put it behind like gold, which is like in FIFA, like it costs like some in-game currency or non-game currency to be able to play in the draft mode, but you're getting rewards after building your, you know, team. So that's something I'm thought of conceptually could work. But I'm excited for them to add this. I want this to be a permanent mode opposed to just a limited time update.
I think that they're going to just make it so they have, I think that's what they're trying to do with these different game modes, where they have a game mode secondary always available. Yeah. So it's not the same one every single time, and they can just, maybe it's always available. Maybe it's a new one every month or a different one every single month. And I think I'm okay with that. I like it. I want more now.
Yes.
If that's what they're trying to go for, especially if we're talking about all these game modes, I just want that now. And not to completely just move off the topics, I do want to. I just do want to say, because the next topic you can kind of see on screen right now, they talked about this day one. Day one, I think, when Marvel Snap was out, new cosmetic types. We gotta start getting more game boards, and I need that so badly. I'm so stoked for this. So I don't know. It's taken so long, and I wonder why it's taken so long. I hope it's like, it just, in the most part of it, it's just a lot of images that they just have floating around. They just move very slowly, whatever. And so I'm hoping that they're gonna do something special in that bit. Even we've seen, right? I'm talking about Pocket a bit more, but with Pokemon Pocket, when it's like it shows your turn by the cosmetic on there. What if, because I had a certain background, it showed my background because I had priority in the turn?
Ooh, something they do in Runeterra is like there's 2 boards, so like there's your side of the board and your opponent's side of the board, and it's different between whoever selected which. So like one half is your personalized, and the other half is your opponent's, which is cool.
Yeah, no, I think that there's just a lot of stuff here, and I'm hoping that it's taking longer so that when it comes out, they can just, it's going to be insane. I'm hoping. We have no proof, but yeah, anyway, but at least on the other game modes, it's just, I want more game modes. I'm excited for this stuff. I like it. I think the draft mode as well, there's a different game I used to play, I talked about it before, Clash Royale, and they've done it. I think one of the best ways that they've done it is where you and your opponent both have this big pool of cards. It's a bigger pool. It's like 30 or something cards or whatever, maybe more. And you each basically take turns picking cards from the same pool. I take a card, you don't get that card. I take a card, but so you both go into the game knowing each other's decks, but you also are building a much smaller thing. It still can bring to a situation where you are playing potentially a worse discard. Yeah. But also, I think that could be different. And because there's so many different ways you can do draft, I'm wondering if we might be seeing multiple draft game modes come out in the future.
Yeah, I'd be here for it. I'm cool for all new game modes. I would love just to have another staple piece: ladder, conquest, draft, or like it was data mined, ladder, conquest, Shuri's lab, where it's literally just a sandbox mode where you can test a bunch of stuff.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. I don't know. There's a lot of really fun stuff. In general, I think this developer roadmap has a lot of really interesting ideas, a lot of really fun stuff, and I'm excited to see what we're gonna do about it, what we're gonna be able to receive from this, what it's gonna be, and I think there's just a lot of really fun stuff coming out as well. One thing I want to say, by the way, is a dev clarification. I forgot to mention this earlier, is with the Collector's Vault, that same 6 variants. That's it. They don't change, I believe, each day. They stay for that entire 5 days.
That makes sense.
So I don't know if I like that. People want the variants in your normal variants in your shop to rotate more quickly. And so the Collector's Vault not rotating during that time.
Well, other games keep the same cards or like the same variant for like that week too, because it's like, you missed this opportunity, here you go. And in some instances, or they're quote unquote giving you a deal on some of these cards, because if it is a $100 bundle and it costs 3,000 gold now, you're saving, $50 on that card using your, and that's not including any in-game resources you have already. So
Yeah.
I think if they changed it every day, people would not care about the vault anymore either, because you could just get all your cards within a week.
That's true. Okay, that's a fair point. Yeah.
Um,
I hope though you can't get, assuming you have enough. I hope you can't get the same variants multiple months in a row. Because imagine you sit there and you get the hero like Mr. Fantastic 5 times. Like if I don't like the hero variants, those like Fantastic Four ones, and I hope those ones aren't going to be like repeated. So it's like want to see how that stuff's going to go. We'll see, but that's
I bet
there's just a
you
lot of
can
really
get
fun stuff coming.
duplicates of them, like multiple months. It really just depends on what bundles you have.
Yeah.
I think that's really, and like you said, like you're guaranteed if you don't get an exquisite this time to get an exquisite next time. So like that will fluctuate more, I think, maybe than the like rarer tier. The rarer tier might repeat itself more, but of course it really just depends on how bundle complete you are.
Which, by the way, they have the amazing and the sensational and exquisite. I've heard of Amazing Spider-Man. I've heard of the sensational Spider-Man. Have you ever heard of the exquisite Spider-Man?
I can't off the top of my head.
Right, the other two were like movies, TV shows. Exquisite. I wish they had done. I know it's already a type. I wish they'd done Ultimate. Right, I love that TV show. Or even I don't know. There has to be another Spider-Man name out there. Honestly, Marvelous.
Marvelous would have been. Oh my gosh, yeah, Marvelous would have been great.
Why didn't they do No, second dinner. You screwed up. Dev roadmap's a mistake. Send it back. Return to sender. We're good here. We'll wait for Marvelous instead of exquisite bundle or exquisite variants. Thank you very much.
And with that, let's talk about the OTA. Let's see how we're feeling about the OTA. We started off with the homie Zabu on screen. We're gonna talk about Zabu first. I think this change was incredible. I think it literally brought life back to this card, and most importantly, it brought life back to 4-drops who have been struggling for months since Zabu's demise. It feels good, and it feels like this is a very fluid and a very balanced change, in my opinion.
Yeah. It's doing well, at least since the patch, right? So looking at the patch, at least as of late, I believe it's at least doing, It's doing somewhat okay, I want to say. But I will say it has a negative win rate and still negative cube rate. It's being used a lot.
Yeah.
And I think people are trying to figure out how you need to use this card, and they're struggling with that.
Yeah.
I like, I've been using it again in hand buff. I've been doing a misery hand buff stuff, which has been fun. And that's been exciting. So in general, I think I'm okay with this card getting this change. I don't know if this is going to fix the card, but I like it.
Yeah, I think what I like about it, and I think going off what you said too, is like a reason I think this card probably has a lower win rate even post OTA is because people are trying him in older lists he was in. I think that might be one of the things. People aren't like maybe using him in the current meta kind of situation, which other people have. Like there's definitely those lists are the better Zabu lists, just like using him more currently. But I think people were trying old things with Zabu, trying to see how it fluctuates in, and like taking maybe some core pieces out to put Zabu in to be greedy. But going off of hand buff, we're going to talk about the other 2 hand buff cards that did get buffed, or one of them is a legit buff card, if I can actually spell it correctly. I can't. Probably because I don't have a favorite variant of it. But we
Okoye.
have good old Okoye. Yes.
It's OKO.
Okay. Oh, okay. Gotcha.
There you go. 2-3 from a 2-2. I think we talked about this last time where we talked about the OTA, or like a reaction to the OTA. I think this card is just one like you can give this card a point of power, and it makes it better. It doesn't. I don't think the card's broken. I don't think it's good still. But it's better.
Yes, it's better, and I think you have more stuff that gets better value from you playing this on curve, or maybe even playing it a little bit later. Nothing crazy, but like this card feels okay now. I would say the next card, which isn't just specifically a hand buff card by any means, but it also got 1 point of power, And more people are using it now because I think KM was talking about it. There's just more pieces in the game with this card that get value. And with there being a little bit less clog this week, especially with one of the changes we'll be talking about a little bit later as well. This card just feels like it gives you more value now. And it wasn't even just the point of power it needed. It just feels like there's more pieces in play now that help this.
Yeah, and I think another change that also happened, which is honestly I think it was the biggest change that happened during the OTA. I think that change also really messed with it a lot, because it also meant that some of the cards inside of this move affliction package got hurt, and so we've seen that package get hurt a little bit, and so Grandmaster doesn't feel as bad to play against it.
Yes, I do agree. Do we want to move to the move affliction stuff then?
Yeah. In general, I'll just say before we actually talk about the card that actually got buffed, right? Kingpin, Scream, and Fist Tower no longer hit unrevealed cards.
Yes.
And they used to. I was fine with that, and they thought that was an issue. Okay. I mean, it's just kind of like, yeah, it's a nerf to those, but then Scream got a point of power as a result of it. So, how you feeling about this?
I mean, I feel like I was not opposed to them hitting unrevealed cards, but I think I understand it from like a beginner standpoint, trying to understand the interactions and everything too. This getting a point of power because of that, I thought was a little interesting, since they took away the interaction giving Scream a buff, because this card still felt good by itself. So like that archetype is interesting. It's really good in certain matchups. It struggles in other matchups. But I thought this overall still has been a good card. I didn't think it necessarily needed a buff because of the interaction. But I mean, good on Scream for getting that extra 1 power.
I think Scream was the best card in that package.
Yeah.
And so Scream getting a buff there felt weird. Like so I feel like there's just other things it could have done, but still, it is what it is there. Scream's been a card that's been going around, and we've been seeing a lot of it as of late.
Now, a card that did get buffed that kind of is whatever. Woo, it got buffed kind of situation was Hulkling. I don't know if your opinion has changed on Hulkling, but Hulkling
doesn't matter.
More
Doesn't
power.
change anything. Don't care.
Woo,
Doesn't care.
He's more like a Hulk.
I'm gonna ignore him. I'm still ignoring him. I don't care about him. He's unless they do something meaningful with his stats, he's not a card I care about, unfortunately. Because I don't remember where I heard this, but this is the truest statement that I've heard about this card. Every other card has a place.
Yes.
Because this card just copies text.
Yes.
In general, just a random text on a random card, it doesn't have a place. There is not. The best place for this card is a deck that doesn't need the card. So I don't know. Maybe there's some secret Hulkling deck that Glenn Jones is hiding in his back pocket and doesn't want us to know about, and it's gonna break the meta apparently if he gets used. Until that deck comes out, I'ma eat my words and say that it's just not a good card, and I don't think I'm gonna care about it.
Yeah, this card is just bad. It is one of the worst cards I think we've ever seen released. And
I think that this card. Oh, hot take. Is this worse or better than Kang?
I think it's worse than Kang. I know that might be crazy. But I just think
right.
Kang at least gives you intel and you can reset your game plan. This can turn into Kang. No, it can't turn into Kang. Sorry, I'm not talking. This can turn into Taskmaster now. That's what I was saying. A different.
Yeah, let's go Taskmaster. Let's go.
But
yeah. No. Kang can just make your opponent waste even more time. Yeah. That's great. And this card wastes your time by putting it in the deck, and you waste your tokens and your keys that you spent.
Yep. So this is maybe they'll change this after a Disney Plus show. But anywho, we're gonna move on over to another card that got adjusted. Viper went from a 3/5 to a 3/4.
Yeah, this was fine. I think this was a change that this just could have happened for a while, I think. Yes. It's just a really good card.
Yeah.
I don't have anything else to say there.
No. And then I think we have
two more.
This was the biggest change I think we had, or not the biggest. This was the second biggest. The biggest change was
I'm gonna argue. I think this is the biggest change. I think
the biggest.
This is the change that proves to me, and I've said it before, and I'll say it again, this is a change that proves to me that Second Dinner is good at what they do. I did not see a singular individual talk about this ability, talk about this change for the card. I've heard make it do only -2, make her a 3 cost, whatever in the world. No, this is the change I think that proves to me, as we've literally devoted a full section in the past for, proves to me that Second Dinner knows what they're doing when they balance cards and when they make these OTA changes.
Yes.
They literally said that they want to give these decks more of an out. And this is it's a smart out. And this is one that we're going to see everyone talk about and maybe give copies for whenever another clog card gets annoying.
Yep.
Because Second Dinner thought of a really great idea here. The card was a 0/0, ongoing, has -3 power, disable this ability if your side of the location is full. 0 -4, destroy this when your side of the location is full. And that's full at Space Throne, full on the Bar Sinister. This card was a really amazing change that I love.
And it really helped with those, like, I would say kind of toxic interactions that I like. Not that I like, but I think it helps with that sort of situation because it's like, okay, well, they played a Widow's Kiss, now they auto-win that lane. You know, they play that lane, you know. And I think what's really cool, I like about this too, is that it happens as soon as the lane is full. It doesn't happen like at the end of the turn, the lane is full.
Yeah.
Which I think is really good, really great concept. Like you said, once again, kudos to Second Dinner for this. So I think this was an incredible change for OTA. This card isn't necessarily dead, but it's definitely fallen down multiple tiers since.
It is no longer just one of, if not the best 2-drops. It is now a deck that you have to. It's now a card that you have to build your deck around, and it's very good in the deck that it's going to be in. But that is such a healthier place for this card to exist, and so I love this change as well.
Yes. And then the next change we have is...
It's the last one, yeah. Hell Cow.
Good old Hell Cow, yeah. Which was another...
I talked about this.
Change. Yes.
I talked about this change. I said I was thinking a lot bigger of a stat change was going to occur here when they made this change. But, what is it? Yeah, just they made it only discard a singular card now.
Which is good. I think it's healthier for the just state of the meta. Hella's play rate has gone down more since this change, even though it's just one less discard, which I think is solid. Because
it's not just a drop the card and be able to discard a bunch, right? You have to actually... There's a lot more that you have to do now in order to use Hella correctly. Like, yes, you can still do this, but I will say, since the patch, Hella went from, what is it? If I'm going to go last 30 days in general, Hella had a 51% win rate, with a 14%, with 0.14 average cube rate. But since the patch, gone to a negative 0.12, negative 0.12 cube rate, and a win rate of 46%.
Wow, Hellcow.
She took a big hit. She's at less than 3% popularity. So they did a good job here. I love it. I'm glad they did this change. It's interesting. I heard this. Now the only card that discards 2 cards is Corvus Clave, and it actually makes him stand out a little bit more. So I kind of like that too.
And I think that what's really good about that is it makes his ability and like it makes him set apart, because like there was no like, oh well, you a Hellcow, you have to activate this card to discard 2 cards. Like it makes it more risky to play a card, which I like that more. There should be a downside to getting that extra energy, which is the discard 2 cards. Like with Wiccan, the downside is you have to hit your energy curve before playing Wiccan. So
you have to build your deck around that. You can't just put Wiccan into another deck and just hope you'll spend your energy, right? And the only other card, there's no other cards in this OTA, but they have given us a preview for the next upcoming OTA that Misery will be a 4/8 now instead of a 4/7. And they gave this information. Yeah, they gave this information yesterday, and so she's leaving today. If y'all are still watching this in the morning or listening to this morning, you have the opportunity to still get her. She will get a small buff beforehand. They're trying to fix that change that they made, or that mistake, quote unquote, that they made with Hydra Bob as much as possible. Because Misery's been played a lot, but she is also not really doing great. She got basically a negative 0.2 cube rate and a win rate of 46%. She's really in a lot of decks, but she's not good. So they are going to be buffing her. And I think just a 4/8 is just fine for now. I don't even know if she's still going to be good there, but I'm fine with this change.
Yeah, I've enjoyed Misery. We can talk about her before we move on.
Yeah.
I have actually, well, I can't even freaking type. I have enjoyed this card. I think it has promoted some levels of deck building. Jet came out with a crazy Misery Phoenix Force list that people were messing around with, which went crazy, of course, with the hot location. Which the hot location, that's another topic that we'll go over in a future yap about hot locations to kind of push, you know, the narrative for these cards and stuff. But even in the Creators Tournament, people were playing Misery with Ronin. Arhiki was playing me with a Misery, Master Mole, Ronin, Darkhawk kind of stuff, which I think that's really cool. I think giving her the extra power does make her better. I still don't think of her as a top-tier card by any means, but I definitely think she does her job really well. And I think she does add value even to the mill list that you've seen, which now has like all sorts of different destroy cards and stuff in there too to get death out, potentially null things. So I like the utility of this card. I think this week still was a must-open week because you had Namora and you had War Machine in here. I just think it's a okay to borderline good card, but I don't think it's a bad card.
Yeah, I actually really love the change where it's going to go to 8 in particular, because that gives it's the exact same power as Odin, except it destroys the cards afterwards. So it's you can literally look at that as like, hey, this is going to give you the same return in terms of the power of this card. It'll do the same ability, but you lose the cards if you use Misery. You don't lose them if you use Odin. And I love that. I think that's just I wish that's how it was originally, because it's just a cool little parallel between those two. Again, not probably intended, but I like that. I think it's a really fun ability. And so I'm excited. I'm excited for Misery to get that buff. I don't know if it's going to matter, but I do like the change.
Yeah, I'm excited to see what happens. This Inhyukli also is just incredible. But this was an overall, I think, really good week with OTA. With leagues didn't feel all too like there wasn't an exploit this time. It just is you had to grind for it. And I think going forward, if you guys want to be in a less grindy league, start your league a day later, or just maybe even more than a day later. So you're gonna be, because whenever you start your league or whenever you play your first game, that's when you're entered into a league, and you're gonna have people more along the lines of your play rate more often than not, depending on when you start.
Yeah, which it sucks that it's the best conversations we've had this are how to game it, but they have said as well, right, that they said very, very explicitly that what is it? Because they were asking in the team answers, why do you, like, someone asked this, I'm just going to quote this question, why do you keep doing leagues even though every single feedback about it inside of the Discord server is full of negativity and disappointment about everything of this style of event? And they just said, we hear you, we're listening, and we're learning. And I don't really know if they could say more other than that because of like their NDAs and whatever, and they have to define details. But just that little bit, I'm not a fan of leagues, and I hope that they're going to do better. And the fact that they just said that. They said they are hearing our complaints, and they're going to do better, and I love that. So that's exciting for me, at least. Not as exciting as Scorn is going to be, though.
Oh my goodness. Real quick before we jump to Scorn, I like the idea of potentially doing the league rewards for the way you place on ladder. I feel like that would be a really cool feature instead of just as a weekend thing, like a monthly thing. I think would be better.
I mean, finally give the ladder some sort of reward rather than just the number. I mean, that's fair. I like that too. Yeah.
But guys, I am so excited for this card. I love discard. It is, I would say, it is my favorite archetype. Like I've been playing discard since the game first came out. What I love about this card, which if you guys are listening, Scorn is a when you discard this, return it to your hand and give +2 power to itself, meaning +2 power to Scorn, and to one of your cards in play. So this feels like one of the best 1-drops we've had on release. It is super, super niche, and it only pertains to discard. But the power that this card can get and what it brings to discard, in my opinion, makes it one of the best discards ever. Like one of the best discard cards ever. Like I said, it is incredibly niche because it's just to discard. But for what it does, it's what Chavez added to discard in a way. So like Chavez, of course, did increase your odds of drawing cards because you're only drawing Chavez on 6. So it boosts your odds in that sense. But Chavez was also used as an opposite to Apocalypse. You don't draw your Apocalypse, your Dracula absorbs the Chavez power. Scorn, to me, reads off something similarly. You buff your Scorn, and then you don't have Apocalypse, or you do have Apocalypse. You can play your Apocalypse out onto a lane, and then have Dracula get the Scorn power, get +2 to another card. And if it works the way I think it's going to work, it's going to work like Apocalypse. So like when Dracula absorbs the Scorn, the new power of the Scorn is going to go onto the Dracula, same as like Apocalypse does when Apocalypse gets discarded.
Yeah. I think this card's going to be a blast. I think, yeah, I'm excited to see some more classic discard. I think classic discard's been maybe kind of making a comeback, but in general, it's just been struggling. So I think that I'm really stoked about this card. If y'all don't know what Scorn is going to do, Scorn is a 1-cost 2 power card that says when you discard this, return it to your hand and give +2 power to itself and one of your cards in play. So that's going to be extremely valuable. It's going to work the same way as Dracula does with like Apocalypse. And it's going to be incredibly beneficial there. I'm excited for that stuff. I think Scorn's going to be a lot of fun. I'm excited. I know we've talked about it in the past. I love the idea of doing the Gambit Cannon deck, and I think I'm going to have fun with that. Don't know if it's going to be the best deck for it, but I'm going to enjoy that one. I'm also going to try to have some fun. I want to do some Strong Guy, Dakin, Surfer stuff. I think that's what we talked about in the past as well. And I think if we're going to talk about some of the best lists, I think that we're going to be seeing some classic Surfer come back. I really want that Strong Guy list to do well, so I'm going to hope that one does as in addition. But I think this card is just going to be really fun to mess with and really fun for people to try to learn with. And I think it is a very powerful card for a very niche role in a certain archetype. Mm-hmm. And I'm okay with that. It's similar. It reminds me of Scream, where Scream's a good card in that archetype. If I'm putting Scream inside of my, if I'm putting Scream inside of my Destroy deck, I'm making mistakes.
Yes.
You don't put Scorn inside of a deck. You don't put Scorn in Thanos.
No.
That's not where it goes. It's a good card inside of the very specific list that it's in, and I'm okay with that.
Yeah, and I think like the comparison to a Scream is like Scream was into a shell that really wasn't that great. It needed a card to be like powerful. This is a solid shell that's been in the game forever, but it's just an extra piece that really elevates the list a lot more. And I think even with the Gambit Cannon, of course, it's going to be super greedy. But I'm thinking also when it comes to the Gambit Cannon, even if you don't get the Wong, Mystique, Onslaught, Gambit kind of scenario, even if you just get the Wong down, if you're able to proc this a couple times, you're also spreading power across the board, which is going to be really good. You're adding some offense while you're hitting your opponent's cards, and then some defense adding the power to your cards. So it's going to be a solid list. I think Gambit and Scorn are going to be great friends. I think you can still play this with the Swarms also in your deck. I unfortunately do think this might take the slot of Meek. Just because you're trying to kind of keep as many cards in your hand as possible kind of thing. Meek, of course, does get some enabling stuff and get 2 power from Scorn too, but I kind of would rather have a collector maybe instead of a Meek in that sense because of how many cards you're adding to your hand to be able to continue to do stuff. But it's going to be interesting to see what shells really find its piece. I was kind of thinking maybe Hellcow prior to it changing to only, discarding 1 card. But I am super excited for this. It comes out today. It's going to be with Sebastian Shaw. If you don't have Sebastian Shaw, an incredible piece for Surfer, or if you like to play some other off-meta stuff like Dance, you play some hand buff, and Sebastian Shaw is great in hand buff things. And then, of course, you have Jean Grey. Jean Grey is more in like a lot of ongoing stuff with like Spectrum. You even get like some Howard the Duck. It's kind of like the knockoff kind of ongoing list in a sense because you got Mojo and Captain.
You're being incredibly generous to those 2 cards. I want to make that very clear. I will say, I'm going to say if you really want Scorn, you can go for this week. I think this is a better week for tokens than keys.
Yeah.
I think, I've been playing a lot of stuff with Sebastian Shaw. I think this is a very, very skippable week. But Scorn's going to be a really fun card. I'm excited to mess with this. But even before we talk about the top discard cards, technically, I think tomorrow is High Voltage, and we're going to get Agony.
Mm-hmm.
This is just going to be another great card, right? And if I'm talking about my hand buff stuff, this is a card I'm really stoked for there as well. Another 1/2 in terms of stats, and it just says, after you play a card here, merge this with it. So not like Symbiote Spider-Man, where Agony will be the only card there. It'll be like Hulkbuster, where it basically just adds 2 power to whatever card you next play there.
It is a 1-cost chimichanga. Or not
Yeah.
chimichanga, but like not chimichanga, like whatever. It's the same similar whatever thing, but like it has to be on the board first before you can merge into it.
Yeah.
It's gonna be good with Sebastian Shaw. It's gonna be good with Deadpool. It's gonna be good with Daken. It's gonna be good with just being able to get this power on cards. Good with Black Panther. You know, like I want to see the order.
Ooh, I
of
might
when
mess with
things
this.
happen.
Ooh. Sorry, I was thinking. I've talked with you in the past about the Surfer
Mhm.
discard list. That could even work here. Ooh, I don't know.
So it's gonna be
Yeah,
interesting. I wonder what comes first. I wonder if it immediately gets absorbed before the interaction happens. Like I wonder, like with Black Panther, does Black Panther become a 5/7 and then double, or is it after Black Panther doubles?
I think it's after, because it says after you play a card here, similar to how Nico would do it.
Okay, that makes sense.
And yeah, and I at one point I was gonna say this feels like a really broken card, and I think maybe I don't even know if it is gonna like truly power creep, like what is it? If it's gonna truly power creep away the Hulkbuster. I think it's just gonna be a different role, and I don't know if it's gonna be broken, if it's gonna be amazing there. But if anything, if you want to talk about a place where I think this is gonna be busted, we talked about the OTA cards that like all these cards that got hit. Age of Venom is a problem in my opinion. Age of Venom with this card's gonna be insane.
Yeah, Agent Venom.
That makes it
adding this
a
to, like,
1/4.
if you don't have Bast and stuff, or like
Yeah.
hitting this with Agent Venom. Yes, very good.
And then also imagine, oh my gosh, imagine you play Agent Venom. This gets hit, and so does Iron Man.
Yeah, it's a 5/8 Iron Man then.
It's a 5. That's a 16 power in a singular lane with 1 card. And guess what? Oh my gosh, I just heard that lane. That lane is Atlantis. That's 13 power, doubled 26 power with.
Yeah, this card's gonna be. I think when you cook about it more, like you add more power to it. It's good for even some like, like it's good potentially like hit monkey things. Maybe you're playing this before you put your Mysterios down, like, and it gets the other power too. Like it's gonna be just interesting to see how it works. I think it's gonna be more flexible than we think. I think it takes the Aranya spot as well and destroy if you're playing Aranya and destroy.
Yeah, definitely.
But I'm excited for this part. I'm glad that you can earn this card just from playing the game. And if you don't get it during high voltage, it does release to the token shop at a Series 4 cost on October 31st.
Series 4 direct cards. Let's go.
So we like that. And then we're going to go ahead. We just talked about Scorn. We just talked about Agony. Let's talk about some of these discard cards. So we're going to preface right now. We're going to kind of be talking about the state of discard before Scorn. So we're going to be talking about some cards, the way they're interacting now, and then we're going to be talking about cards after Scorn comes out today, what we think are going to be generally good cards. The first card that comes to mind for me is going to be Swordmaster. This card did get readjusted in an OTA previously to discard an odd-costed card from your hand. You're not really seeing this in a lot of typical classic discard. I still don't know if you necessarily will, but I think functionality-wise, it goes well with Scorn. Right now, you're discarding your MODOK, your Blade, your Moon Knight. You don't really have an odd-end card. I mean, you can do X-23, technically, too. But I think, like, he's just an okay card right now. The OTA was cool. Like, I'm glad it got a targeted change opposed to being random. But I think post-Scorn, you could potentially flex this in your list. It is 3/7, which is some good power as well. I don't necessarily know what you drop, but maybe if you don't own all the proper discard cards, you can have this to enable your Scorn. I probably won't be rocking this in any of my lists, but I think going into like the strong guy list you're talking about too, this seems like a really good card, and it's a 3 cost for like surfer things.
That's fair. Okay, I like that. Yeah, I think that I would love it if there was a world where Swordmaster was a card that you could use with it. I don't know if that will occur, but I would love it if Swordmaster could make his return because of this card. But if you're talking about another discarding card, it's a card that if you use the word discard, you won't actually show up. I think this could be a Daken return. And this is why I talked about it earlier. I think Daken would be a really fun place for this card to return. Ooh, gorgeous split. But I think you will be able to get the bonus because if you're trying to discard the cheap stuff from your hand, I think that you already like that with the Muramasa Shard. And then you can use Daken himself. And if if Scorn hits Daken, and then the Muramasa shard gets discarded later on, then you now have a 3/12 rather than just a 3/8. And so just that little bit can really go far. And so that's another part of it that I really would love to see occur. I want to see Dakin be able to pop off incredibly, and I'm hoping this can be his place.
Yeah, I think it'd be awesome. I would love to see Dakin get more value. This was a season pass card, you know? It was a season pass card last August.
I think this is why I actually really liked that this was a season pass card. I think this was a very balanced season pass card. It wasn't good. It wasn't even bad even then. It's gotten worse over time, but it wasn't bad then, and you still enjoyed playing it, and it's still I think a lot of really fun stuff with it because it had this multi-step process. And I just don't know if the payoff was ever enough for it to feel really great. But it's really excited about it with Scorn, even though at current state, it's not going to be doing anything yet. But as soon as Scorn comes into the game and hopefully messes with this, I'm hoping it's going to pop off. And this is what I'd like to see. It's a little bit of copium, but that's my copium.
I think it'd be cool. I would love to see Dakin get value like you're saying. And I think he's got some great variants too.
He does.
The card I'm going to talk about also is Corvus. So we talked about him a little bit earlier. I think this is a card right now because, like we were talking about, you're discarding 2 cards, getting the extra energy. This could be a good card for classic discard. Right now, you're seeing it more with Helicarrier things. You know, you're playing it with your collector. You're trying to get that value too. Maybe you discard some cards that were important, but you get them back with Helicarrier. You have that surprise factor. I like this with Scorn a lot as well, potentially having some extra energy at the end of the game to maybe even play a MODOK and a Morbius out on turn 6 because you would have 7 energy, or being able to get Scorn on the board with some other cards too. Maybe you're trying to make it so you just have Apocalypse in hand, or you're just discarding more cards. Of course, the way Corvus works is Corvus cannot hit Scorn twice because it's the same card. Whereas you can hit the Swarm twice because they become new cards. So that's why it's able to proc that way. This can't hit Apocalypse twice either. It can only hit Apocalypse once because Apocalypse is not like a new card in Corvus's mind, because when Corvus goes off, it already has 2 cards selected to discard. So this is also, in that same sense though, you could hit your Apocalypse and you could hit Scorn on the same turn, which would be a really good, that's like your high roll.
Yeah.
To hit those.
That would be great.
But I'm excited to see how maybe having some extra energy in discard would also enable you, maybe final turn, you play a Wong Gambit. Like you just have the 7 energy to be able to mess around. I think this card is just going to be really fun, and I'm interested to see if he does make a return to some classic discard.
Yeah, that's fair. No, I think that's going to be a good one. It's a card. I want to talk about one that's it's a good card already, right? It's a stable discard card, but I think the way it specifically is going to interact with Scorn, I think is going to highlight a new factor with Apocalypse, because Apocalypse is actually, if you think about it, extremely similar to Scorn.
Yes.
Scorn is, in fact, just a more generous version of Apocalypse, because Apocalypse gains all that 4 power himself, whereas Scorn has that 4 power, takes half and gives half to the poor. So it's the Robin Hood of discard, comparatively to Apocalypse, right? That's how it works.
Yes.
So I think that Apocalypse and Scorn could be a really fun combo, and especially if you're talking about the Corvus and such, right? Final turn, if you don't have a Dracula on the board, you could drop both those down.
Yeah.
And those are 2 massively statted cards that you can just whop on the board, and I don't know. I think Apocalypse is going to be really fun as an alternative line, and you can choose in your hand. You can be like, oh, okay, I've got my Dracula on the board. It's turn 6. Do I want to drop? What is it? Do I want to drop, I guess, maybe this Lady Sif and then my Scorn? Or do I maybe not have anything else good here, and it's just going to be this Apocalypse power? And I actually think it's going to give you some more flexibility in that final turn, like you were talking about that America previously had.
Yes.
So I'm really stoked about, I think, in general, just the change of Apocalypse's role inside of discard.
And I think it's a whole mental thing. It's like, okay, well, they're playing Scorn. They also have Apocalypse. Which card are they playing? Are they going to play their Apocalypse? Because a lot of instances, you're keeping Apocalypse in hand. Your opponent's like, okay, I can math this out. But then you throw your Apocalypse down on the board, and then Scorn goes off. Because the other thing is, too, like, Scorn hits a random card. Your opponent has to guess if this gets 2 power, if this gets 2 power, if this gets 2 power. And they have to, like, do that mental math, which I think is just going to be incredible for that as well. And then I think something you're seeing just in typical discard now. It's not a discard card, but Collector works with Scorn. Because it gets added back into your hand. Of course, you're not going to be proccing it like crazy unless you are discarding it multiple times on the same turn. Like, what's cool is like Blade Colleen onto a Scorn. You know, that's going to be the lowest cost card in your hand. It's going to be lower cost in your Swarm. That's going to be 2 procs for your Collector, and you're also going to be getting 4 power onto the board, and you're getting 4 extra power onto Scorn. So, like, she's going to be able to just cycle through power really well. And if your Collector gets, you know, you discard your Scorn, your Collector gets that +1, and then maybe gets a +2. Like, that's a really positive interaction. And I think you're playing this a lot more in some more classic discard now again. It's not just having to be Helicarrier discard. Helicarrier discard, of course, gives us probably the maximum buff. But at the same time, I like knowing kind of what I have in my hand and knowing what's going to happen, even though the unknown is very solid too. But, like, hitting swarms, being able to throw the swarms wherever, and then, like, Dracula doesn't have that RNG of, I'm going to hit just something, whatever was generated from the Helicarrier. Like, I just like that option. I think this is still going to be a staple in some lists, an alternate in others, but Collector's going to continue to get value. Yeah,
that's fair. No. And I've got one more here, and I think my last one that I'll say is, it's a card that's not, again, I'm choosing a card that if you use a discard descriptor, it's not going to show up, but I think it's actually going to work really well, and I think Wong is actually a really good shout. And the reason I've talked about the Gambit Cannon lists is not just because like it's the card that's going to keep staying in your hand. It's because you want that card to trigger as many times as possible. Yes. You would like Scorn to be discarded as many times as possible. And there's no card that currently exists that says discard a card and then discard another card. It's discard 2 cards right now with Corvus Glaive, and that's it. Yep. So you want to be able to target the same card multiple times. And the only way you can do that with a singular card is Wong. So being able to drop a Wong, imagine, again, let's just say this. You play a Wong on turn 5, let's say, and you've got some other stuff you've already set up on the board. Wong on turn 5. You then play Mystique, Calling Wing Blade.
Yeah.
You add, if I'm not mistaken here, I think 16 power to the board. And if you already have Dracula down, that's another bit of power there too.
Yep.
So I think one of the cards, and I don't know if it's going to be greedy, right? It probably is maybe going to be overtly greedy, but I think there's going to be a legitimate place for it where you're going to want to use Wong. And it doesn't have to be just the Gambit Cannon, right? The example I talked about right there, that's not a Gambit Cannon. That is just you trying to use as many triggers as you can. And I think that's the specific thing about Scorn that makes it different and makes it okay at its current power and costs that we've seen, because you have to just target that one card as many times as possible. It's not super easy to do, to discard one card over and over and over again. I think that's why we also saw a departure potentially from that previously data mined ability where it gave its power that it currently had to another card.
Yeah.
Because while that might be fun, I don't know if that card would actually be able to be that good. You'd probably get to a +3, maybe at most, maybe a +4. But the consistency of +2 every single time, I think, is going to do a lot for Scorn. And that's why I think Wong being able to hit it as many times as possible is why I really want to say, if anything, this is the #1 card, in my personal opinion, that's going to work well with Scorn.
Oh, really?
I think Wong is, honestly. Like, MODOK you don't want. It's going to hit it once. MODOK is a 5 energy thing that just only gives you 1 trigger on Scorn. You want to be able to use as many triggers as you can on the same card. So I think Wong is going to give you that, other than, I don't think there's another card that can do that for you.
I mean, Wong, yes, same turn triggers. I think Wong.
Yes, I'm talking same turn triggers.
Yes,
yeah, definitely.
Yes. I like that shout too. But I think, yeah, like that's a general idea. I think we're both pretty high on Scorn. Very excited for her coming out today. Hopefully you guys 1-tap her, or if you guys don't have Shaw, hopefully you 2-tap Shaw. I don't think you necessarily need Jean right now. Maybe you want to be collection complete.
Have fun with everyone's new jeans. Please don't spend unless you have 4 keys. If you spend and you have 3 keys this week, and you spend and you knock the random card, you knock Sebastian Shaw, and then you hit Jean, this is your warning not to do it. I will not be sympathizing with you. Save, please. I'm sorry, I won't sympathize. I'm sorry, I'm just going to say it. I'm telling you now that I will not be sympathetic toward you if you are just going to choose to RNG through this. Sorry.
And with that right there, we're gonna close it out here. Dance, do you have any final thoughts?
Other than me just ridiculing people, no. Other than the fact that you guys should be subbed to youtube.com/@Tucker. Guess what? It's the channel you're currently watching this video on. That's crazy. Sub here. It's free. You can do it. And he really appreciates it, and I appreciate it for him. As someone who has to make all his thumbnails, he keeps me trained in the basement, and I once in a while get light in order so I can do these videos with him. It's really difficult. Please help me, save me. Otherwise, follow his Twitch, twitch.tv/Tucker, or his Twitter, x.com/Tucker, TUCCR. Give him some well wishes and congratulations on his brand new announcement.
I appreciate the shout out, Dance, and of course, you guys definitely need to follow Dance on all of his socials as well. Primary being Twitch, twitch.tv/notmydance, all lowercase, and x/twitter.com/notmydance, all lowercase as well. Thank you guys so much for watching. Next week, we're gonna be hopefully able to talk about High Voltage, what we thought about High Voltage. I'll be able to talk more about the Creators Gauntlet, round of 32, maybe even top 8, who knows. And talk about Scorn, talk about the new card that Dance is very excited for coming out next week, Toxin. And until the next time, you guys have a good one. God bless, and laters.